You've watched every video, read up on a ton of guides, and you're ready to dive into Lost Ark on day one. But are you truly prepared to take on the world of Arkesia? Hey there friends, it's Codiak here. Welcome to Legacy Gaming. Today, I'm putting my experience with the game to the test and sharing a number of huge mistakes to avoid in Lost Ark. Let's be crystal clear. Lost Ark is an expansive, ever-changing game. That's the nature of MMOs, right? There are a million opinions and guides out there, and while they're chock full of information, sometimes a bit of perspective puts things into focus. That's really the goal of this video, to provide you with facts, but also to give you philosophical insight into how best to approach the game. Not everything I point out is going to be groundbreaking, but it might just resonate with a few of you, so keep an open mind and remember, at the end of the day, play the game the way you want. That's ultimately going to provide you with the best experience. So this first one might be a bit strange for a lot of you, especially any MMO refugees coming to check out the game. Lost Ark's endgame breaks down into two concepts: horizontal progression, that is stuff that's easily accessible by everyone, and vertical content, activities that take investment, skill, and proper advancement. One thing I want you all to keep in mind is the fact that changing your main is a very common phenomenon within this game. In fact, it's so common that most people will tell you it's okay to change your main pretty much all the way up to Tier 3. Now, the NAEU will launch at Tier 1 with some modifications, but keep in mind this: you're not going to get to experience your full character with a full kit until you reach the endgame content and unlock the additional skill point potions needed to see the class in full. At that point, don't be afraid to say, you know what, this class just isn't for me. The leveling process in Lost Ark is short by design because the developers, Smilegate, realized, rightly so, that it's impossible to judge a class based on its leveling experience. You may feel like you're throwing progression down the drain, but remember that alts play a crucial role in funneling upgrade materials to your main, so making a swap may mean you have to level up a new character, but it also means you have an alt standing by in the wings ready to support that new main. Long story short, don't be afraid to swap your main. You may have an idea in your head about what class you want to play, but it's okay if that dream and the reality of the class don't line up. Just pull the trigger and try something else. Since we have the chance to do this again, I wanted to add another tip into the mix here. This actually comes from someone in the comments, but I realized I did this too during the beta. When you reach Lake Bar, you're going to start unlocking your life skills, mining and fishing to be exact. You're going to notice there's a vendor that sells you tools. Don't be fooled. You do not need to buy any tools from this life skill vendor at this point. You actually get basic tools and upgraded tools once you complete the associated guide quest, so save yourself the silver and don't fall into this trap. In a similar vein, I want to pivot and talk about questing. You're going to read a lot of guides and see a lot of videos about the best way to level or the fastest route to 50, whatever it may be. When the chips are down, there are really two ways to do this. The first is to only do the main story missions. The developers have tuned this entire questline perfectly so that when you finish the final set of quests in Shoeshire, you're at level 50 in a set of gear ready to take on the first bit of endgame content, Chaos Dungeons. In my opinion, this is a great way to level as you're not bogged down by all those additional side quests that just slow you down. Plus, you get to see more of the world and you get a starter set of endgame gear. It's a win across the board. That being said, there's nothing wrong with picking up every quest along the way. You're going to hit level 50 well before the end of that main quest line, and that's fine. You're also going to pick up more silver, account XP, and currencies for things like rapport, but this method isn't foolproof. There's a chance you might have a small gear gap that requires you to progress further anyways to get your item level high enough to enter Chaos Dungeons. Also, at some point, you're going to need to go back and finish that main quest line even if you're overpowered to do so. I would also argue this is a slower way to level, especially if you're playing a class that takes a bit longer to kill enemies, like a Gun Lancer. Bottom line, you can choose to level either way you want. It's entirely up to you, but those two options are really the only true paths to the endgame. You may see slight variations here and there, but at the end of the day, either one is going to get the job done. Join a guild. Full stop. Being part of a community is at the core of any MMO, and Lost Ark makes it an integral theme within the game. Being in a guild is more than just having a new chat channel to talk in. In Lost Ark, being in a guild means working towards collective goals and rewards. Each guild has access to research that will unlock new aspects of the guild, including a guild shop. Here you can turn in bloodstones for special items like upgrade materials, gear chests, and even percent-based HP potions, things that will help you in other aspects of the game. By simply being in a guild and contributing towards quests or making small donations in silver or gold, you're getting something valuable back in return, something you wouldn't otherwise have access to. Am I segueing this into a shameless plug? You bet I am, but I truly believe that MMOs are better together, and to that end, I will say this. Legacy Gaming is already one of the biggest guilds in North America. We've amassed an incredible group of people from around the world, and with over 1,100 of us in the Discord, we're excited to take on the challenges of Arkesia together. We are an open community, which means you can come and go as you please, so if you're watching this video and looking for a place to call home, check out our Discord link below and join today. Yes, guilds are limited to how many people can be in them, but trust me when I say we have got a big plan. If you're someone that really wants to make the most out of their time with the game, maybe you've only got a couple hours a week to spare, well, then hopefully this advice saves you some valuable time. Don't worry about your gear while you're leveling. Like most MMOs, leveling gear is a wash and doesn't provide you with any real value long term. I would argue that the loot in the game is one of the least interesting aspects of Lost Ark. It's not like running dead mines and getting the cruel barb to drop. Loot just doesn't work the same way. My simple advice, check your inventory while you're leveling and equip anything with a little blue arrow in the bottom right-hand corner. That's going to provide you with enough of a stat boost to keep you going. Keep in mind that you can equip 2 rings and 2 earrings, so best be sure you're utilizing every piece of gear. Just don't waste your time min-maxing while you're leveling. You'll just be wasting time. Time better spent pushing deeper into the game. Once you reclaim Lutera Castle, you'll be rewarded with a stronghold. I've talked about this feature in a number of different videos, and while it's still not my favorite system in the game, it's impossible to deny how important it actually is. Strongholds and life skills go hand in hand, and it's incredibly easy to just ignore or forget about your stronghold entirely. This is a huge mistake, as strongholds are really one of your best tools for continuing to progress within the game. The workshop and the port are really the 2 features I want to focus on here. At the workshop, you can craft percent-based HP potions as well as other battle items like grenades. To do that, you need life skills. I'm not saying to stop and pick every flower along the way while you're leveling, but these things will become vitally more important the deeper into the game you get. The real goal here is to have access to all the important recipes by the time T2 content comes out. That's when these vital items are going to play a big factor in whether or not you're successful in a dungeon or raid, so preparing now becomes key. In the same vein is the port, where you'll send out crews on automated missions. If you're a casual player, this is going to be a godsend, as you'll be able to crew ships that can complete special missions that reward upgrade materials. These missions mimic those of endgame activities like Chaos Dungeons and Guardian Raids, but you don't actually have to do the work. To that end, it's important to do collectibles that reward you with new crewmates that will allow you a higher chance of success. If you're a more serious player, someone that does want to push progression, well then it's important just to keep up with your other missions. You actually have a tracker on your hotbar up top that lets you know when missions are completed. It's easy to forget this exists, and even easier to just not send crews out, but you're missing out every second that goes by and you don't send out a new party. Is this going to hamstring you for weeks on end? No, but those mission rewards can be used with special rotating vendors that may have incredibly valuable loot, things you don't want to miss out on, and if you don't have the money, you can't purchase the goods. It's as simple as that. Looking around the internet, you may have noticed that a lot of Lost Ark creators post videos in widescreen. That's because a 29:9 aspect ratio gives you a wider field of view when playing the game, something a lot of players, specifically PvPers, find useful. If you don't have a widescreen monitor, it's okay. There's actually an option to force the aspect ratio in the menus. I guess this isn't so much a mistake other players make, but a PSA that if you're someone that does want the advantage of more screen information, but don't have the hardware to back it up, there is a solution, one you might not have known about otherwise. So we just put out this huge endgame video breaking down everything players can do once they reach level 50 in the NAEU, and I want to double down on one aspect of that video, the rest gauge. If you don't know, the rest gauge is a system that allows you to catch up after you miss out on certain daily activities. If you're unable to complete the 2 daily Chaos Dungeons and Guardian Raids, you can gain stacks in your rest gauge. For each task left incomplete, you gain 10 rest. If you have 20 rest, the next time you do a Chaos Dungeon or Guardian Raid, you receive double loot. In total, you can stockpile 100 rest, resulting in 5 instances of double loot. The mistake happens when you let that rest gauge fill up to full and then don't capitalize on the double loot. Inevitably, things happen. You'll miss a day or two, especially if you're a more casual player, but once that bar hits 100, anything you miss after that point is a wasted opportunity. The easiest solution is just to try and log on every day and do your daily activities, but that's not always possible, so your next best bet is to log in when you can to keep that bar below 100. Chaos Dungeons take next to no time to complete, and Guardian Raids are timed events that won't stretch you past 20 minutes. The double loot gained by tapping into your rest gauge is more precious than anything else at this point, so don't miss a golden opportunity to keep your characters moving forward. We touched on this a bit in the Stronghold section, but man, I cannot tell you guys how important combat items are once you reach a certain point in the endgame. If you've ever rated progression in any MMO, then you know the value of coming to something prepared. That means having the right potions, and in this case, the right grenades or combat items. All of these things can be crafted at the Stronghold, which is why it's important to keep up with the upgrades, but you'll also come by a number of these just by playing the game. Most likely, the Lost Ark team is going to throw a ton of stuff at us during launch. It's a new game, and they're going to want to incentivize people to log in with daily bonuses and whatever else they come up with. Don't be overwhelmed by the shinies and realize that these things are far more valuable later than they are now. The real mistake is keeping these in your bags to begin with. Take advantage of your storage chest, which allows you to squirrel away items and just keep this stuff out of sight. One thing that really sucks is that new items will automatically move to your hotbar, and a slip of the finger means you just wasted a precious item. I know it might not make sense at this point, but trust me when I say it will once the team releases the next tiers of content. While not really a mistake, I think it's important to point out a change in the main quest once you leave East Lutera. This happens in your mid-30s and can be a bit confusing as the main quest icon changes from an orange marker to a blue globe. I can't tell you how many people have sent me DMs about this. The marker changes and they end up wandering around aimlessly trying to figure out what to do next. Once you leave East Lutera, your next objective is Tortoik, so take your new ship and beeline it northeast to that small island. From this point on, you'll be following the blue globe icons as your main quests. Don't die! Obviously, this is one of the most fundamental tenets of video games, but in Lost Ark, there's a reason to keep your HP above 0. When you die in the game, you have two options: to respawn at the closest triport, or to use a Phoenix Plume, also known as a Resurrection Feather. These are incredibly valuable items that you'll need for endgame content such as Abyss Dungeons, so here again I say, don't waste them while leveling up. The mistake here is thinking you have an abundance of these items, which may be the case early on, but as you progress in the game, you're going to need to rely on them much more, especially in endgame content that requires a feather to spawn back in, like Chaos Dungeons, Guardian Raids, and again, Abyss Dungeons. The thing about Phoenix Plumes is that there are only a finite amount of them to obtain. There are a few different ways to get them, but the main one is by completing aspects of your adventure tome. The thing is, once you run out of ways to get new feathers, you have to pay real-world cash, and let's be honest, who wants to do that? So once you reach the endgame, you might be feeling like you're not reaching your full potential on a class. That's because you still need to unlock more skill points. The only way to do this is by engaging with the collectible systems within the game. Turning in things like giant hearts will reward you with 4 skill point potions, which give all characters on that server access to additional points. Skill point potions are connected to nearly every endgame system, and they're an absolute priority. Unlock new skill point potions and have access to more tripods, which ultimately helps you progress more quickly. The mistake here is not knowing these exist in the first place and not making them something you actively hunt down. You're not going to be able to get them all in one day. There are just too many systems at play here, but hunting down specific skill point potions like the ones in the Tower of Shadow should absolutely be a first priority, as those additional points will unlock a whole world of possibilities for your characters. Finally, I want to talk about your roster level, or legacy level as it's called in the Russian version of the game. I've talked about this before, but man, you gotta remember to keep unlocking new passive stats when you level up your account. This is a system that runs parallel to your character level, and something that's so easy to forget. Nearly everything you do grants you XP towards your roster, and those stat boosts are universal across all characters on a server. To access this menu, go to the roster icon in the bottom right, then click on roster information. Make sure to scan the list and click on any of the boxes you have unlocked to increase your roster level. Write yourself a sticky note, set a reminder on your phone, whatever you need to do, but don't miss out on free, easy stat boosts that take all of your characters on the server up a notch. So there you have it, 12 mistakes or oversights new players make and why you should do everything in your power to avoid them. If you've joined the Discord, you know we're all about empowering others here, so if you're a Lost Ark vet that somehow stumbled on this video, do me a solid and share your wealth of information with our community. What's one mistake you wish you hadn't made when you were first playing Lost Ark? Leave a comment below and let others know. If you've been following along with our Lost Ark coverage, then you already know we've got a whole lineup of content ready to go for launch. We've been toiling away on the NA EU PTR trying to get videos ready for launch, so if you appreciate that work, we'd appreciate the support. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more Lost Ark videos in your feed. Finally, if you like everything we're doing here at Legacy Gaming and you want to support the channel even more, you can do so by becoming a member. For just a couple bucks, you're helping us achieve our dreams of making YouTube a full-time passion. Check out the join button below to learn more. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.